In the winter of 1978, a brutal ice storm blackout knocked out electricity across a wide stretch of Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, and it stayed out for 11 days. For most families in the region, those 11 days were a slow, cold emergency. For their Amish neighbors, it was just 11 days. No scramble, no panic, no dark rooms or cold meals. The same lamps that lit the night before the storm lit the night after it. And the stoves that cooked breakfast on day 1 cooked breakfast on day 11. What those Amish households had was not a backup system. It was simply a primary system that the rest of the world had quietly abandoned decades earlier, and it cost a fraction of what most people spend on a single emergency generator. Good power outage preparedness, it turns out, is not about what you buy in a panic the night before a blackout. It is about what you never stop knowing how to use. So how does a household run on almost nothing and run well for 11 days straight without a single watt from the grid? The answer is not one big thing. It is 4 or 5 small things, each one doing a specific job, each one cheap enough that almost anyone can set it up in a weekend. Start with light, because darkness is the first thing that makes a blackout feel like a crisis. The Amish in Lancaster County have used kerosene lamps since the mid-1800s, and the design has changed almost nothing in 170 years for a reason. It works with a precision that is easy to underestimate. A standard flat wick kerosene lamp burns roughly half an ounce of fuel per hour. That is about 4 ounces for a full evening of light. A single gallon of kerosene, which costs roughly $7 or $8 at any hardware store, gives you 32 evenings of steady, warm light from one lamp. 3 lamps, positioned correctly in a small house, throw enough light to read, cook, and move around safely. The Amish do not treat those lamps as antiques or decorations. They are the primary lighting system, and every adult in the household knows how to trim the wick to exactly the right height. Because a flat wick kerosene burner, whose wick is cut too short, smokes badly and wastes fuel, and a wick left too long creates soot on the chimney glass and drops light output by 30% within a single evening. That skill, wick trimming, sounds trivial until the power is out and your flashlight batteries are dead on day 3. Now move to heat and cooking, because that is where most modern blackout plans fall apart completely. The Amish solution here is almost insultingly straightforward, and it has 2 separate layers. The first layer is a propane camping stove. Not a propane generator, not a propane whole house system, just a simple propane camping stove or a countertop propane range connected to a standard 20-pound cylinder. A 20-pound propane cylinder costs between $20 and $25 filled, and it holds roughly 430 liters of usable gas. A 2-burner stove burning 1 burner at medium heat consumes about 60 grams of propane per hour. At that rate, 1 cylinder gives you roughly 80 to 90 hours of cooking time. 11 days of cooking 3 meals a day with 1 burner running about 45 minutes per meal works out to approximately 25 hours of total burn time. 1 cylinder handles the whole 11 days and still has fuel left when the grid comes back. The total cost of that setup, stove plus 1 filled cylinder, sits right around $35 if you shop carefully, and that is where the number in the title of this video comes from. It is not a gimmick, it is math. But here is what almost nobody considers when they think about off-grid cooking, and this is the part that actually separates the Amish approach from a panicked camping trip. The Amish cook differently during disruptions, not because they have to scramble, but because they plan around thermal mass cooking. A cast iron pot or Dutch oven, once brought to temperature, holds heat for a long time after the burner goes off. A pot of beans or a stew brought to a boil and then wrapped in a folded wool blanket will finish cooking over the next 2 hours on retained heat alone. This technique is called the fireless cooker method, sometimes recorded in old texts as a haybox or wonderbox, and it has a history longer than most people expect. 19th century cookbooks described it in detail, and Norwegian ships used thermal mass cooking to conserve fuel on long ocean voyages. You bring the food to full boiling temperature, seal the pot tightly, and pack insulation around it completely. The food finishes in the residual heat, and propane consumption drops by 60 to 70% for long cook meals. That one technique alone can stretch a single propane cylinder from 11 days of cooking to nearly a month. Now here is the open loop that has been sitting since the beginning of this video. Light and cooking are solved, but what about the third thing that a modern blackout kills fastest? Food storage. A refrigerator without power becomes a warm box in about 4 hours, and everything inside it is at risk within 24. The Amish in Lancaster County do not use mechanical refrigeration for most of their perishables. They use a system that is much older and, in a blackout scenario, dramatically more stable. The cold pantry, or what some Amish communities call the milk house, is a small room or insulated cabinet built to take advantage of ground level or below grade temperature. This is different from the root cellar covered in other videos on this channel. This is a surface level or near surface cold storage space, often on a north-facing exterior wall, ventilated to outside air, sometimes with a small window or vent that can be closed or opened depending on outside temperature. In Lancaster County winters, outside air temperature between December and February averages around 28 to 35 degrees Fahrenheit. A cold pantry vented to that outside air holds butter, cheese, eggs, and leftover cooked food safely for the entire duration of a winter blackout without any ice, any power, or any mechanical assistance whatsoever. This is not improvisation. This is architecture, and Amish farmhouses are specifically designed with this room or this wall section built in from the start. But the more remarkable thing is that this principle can be recreated in a modern house within a single afternoon using materials that cost almost nothing. A north-facing cabinet against an exterior wall with 2 small drilled vents covered in wire mesh connected to outside air through short sections of HVAC duct achieves the same thermal effect. This is called passive cooling ventilation. And once you understand how it works, you start seeing opportunities for it in almost any older home. The outside air does the refrigeration. No power, no ice, no moving parts. In winter months, in any climate zone north of roughly the 40th parallel, that passive cooling ventilation space will hold food-safe temperatures between 32 and 40 degrees Fahrenheit for as long as the cold weather lasts. Now think about what has been assembled here, because the pieces add up to something quietly remarkable. A 3-lamp kerosene system for light costs about $22 in fuel for a month of evenings. A propane camping stove with 1 cylinder covers 11 days of full cooking for roughly $35 total. A cold pantry built on passive cooling ventilation costs the price of 2 short sections of duct and a Saturday afternoon. These 3 systems together cover the 3 things that make a blackout genuinely dangerous: darkness, cold food, and no way to cook. And here is the thing that is easy to miss. The Amish did not invent any of this. They preserved it. When the Rural Electrification Administration brought power to Pennsylvania farmland in the 1930s and 1940s, most farm families switched over quickly. And within a single generation, the knowledge of how to run a household without the grid was gone from everyday practice. The Amish made a deliberate community decision not to switch. And that decision, for reasons that had nothing to do with ice storm blackout preparedness, meant they retained a complete working system that the rest of rural America let go. The 1978 Lancaster County ice storm did not test them. It simply did not affect them. So why does any of this matter now, in a world where most people live with reliable power and have for decades? Because the grid is not getting simpler. Extreme weather events that cause multi-day outages have increased in frequency across North America by more than 60% since the 1980s, according to data from the Department of Energy. The average American household now experiences roughly 8 hours of power interruption per year. But that average hides a long tail of events lasting days to weeks, concentrated in exactly the moments when heat, cold, and food safety matter most. A generator is a reasonable answer, but generators require fuel logistics, maintenance, carbon monoxide awareness, and startup costs that often exceed $1,000 before you buy the first tank of gas. The Amish system asks for $35, a north-facing wall, and the knowledge of how to trim a wick. It powered whole households through 11 days of ice storm silence in 1978. It still works identically today. Because kerosene burns the same way it always did, propane pressure is the same, and cold outside air in January is still cold. The technology did not need to improve. It just needed someone to remember it. And now you have. If this kind of practical, history-grounded knowledge is useful to you, there is a lot more of it on this channel.